Hello and welcome to a tutorial on Benchmark Universe. I'll talk to you about the process of giving your students an assessment. Then I'm going to log out as a teacher, and then I will come back in as a student so that you see what it looks like to maneuver through the program as a student. So as a teacher, if you want to give your students an online e-assessment, you would log in and locate the specific assessment that you are looking for. So I'm going to choose a third grade assessment, and I'm going to just navigate through and find an assessment. So I will click and choose this one. If I simply click on it, I'm given an opportunity to see what it looks like from the student perspective. So I haven't officially assigned this as an assessment for my entire class. I'm just previewing it as a student. So right here it says preview student. This particular item right here is letting me know that I'm supposed to scroll down, and I typically tell the children to use the wheel on the mouse as a tool that will let them scroll, or I tell them to take their two middle fingers, their middle finger and their ring finger, and then just kind of slide up and down on the trackpad. I feel like those are two simple tasks that the children can perform that would allow them to cause this to navigate up and down. However, let me tell you, if the pointer of the mouse is not located on that left-hand region and the sliding occurs, you'll notice how there's a tiny lift and drop on the screen, because the computer isn't registering that you just want the left side of the screen to actually move. Your computer is assuming that wherever the mouse is located, that's what you want to move up and down. I do want to take you back into the student view because I want to explain to you what it looks like for the children to get in, exactly what they're supposed to click. Because I had an entire class of students in the tech lab the other day, and there was a minor malfunction that prevented them from getting in. So I'm hoping that I can explain that to you so that if you have that very same problem, you're able to troubleshoot that during the test session. So this section right here lets you click and drag to resize these items. Because this particular piece is very poem-like and it has stanzas for its literary form, you're not able to see how that text can expand to the right. So in order for this to work, you would have to click specifically on that blue region and then go ahead and drag it over. And the two window functionality of this read and answer section is extraordinarily phenomenal, because the SBAC testing at the very end of third grade and beyond will take the children through a double window scenario like this, where the left-hand side needs to navigate up and down and the questions are on the right-hand side. For my second grade teachers, I highly recommend that you introduce the children to this particular method of online e-assessment. As you increase familiarity for the students, you decrease anxiety, and it becomes more habit-oriented. And so I just recommend that the children really begin to feel more and more comfortable with computers for assessing. So by the time they reach the end of third grade, they feel like they're champs. So for example, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to read through this assessment, so trust me, my answers are going to be wrong. My desire is just to teach you how this functions. So I'm going to randomly select something for an answer, and then I'm going to move on. You would obviously, as the classroom teacher, instruct the children to read through the passage carefully. I would even recommend that you grant the children an opportunity to highlight the text. If there's core information in here that will help them understand what the author's trying to communicate, then this particular tool up here would give them the luxury of doing that. Your older students might want to bounce around from question to question, really not in a chaotic, haphazard sort of a fashion. But if a child is stumbling on a particular question and they want to come back to it, then this would grant them an opportunity to move to a different question and they could answer those questions out of sequence. By double clicking on it, you'll notice how all the way up here I have advanced all the way to question 5. You can also see right here how I have advanced to question 5 as well. So if I want to move over to question 4, then I could move to question 4. I'm not going to model this for every single one of them, but you just pull down, you double click, and then it allows you to move from one location to the other. Tools. If you want the letter size to increase, if you have somebody who left their glasses at home or they have difficulties reading small print, this would be a good utility for them. In conjunction with making the letters larger or smaller, you can just zoom in or zoom out. If you have a child who is dyslexic and color significantly influences their ability to read the text, then these particular features over here would decrease that mental scrambling and provide them with an opportunity to think in an uncluttered fashion. I'll be honest with you, I don't know exactly what the line reader does. I was under the impression that it might illuminate as you are reading it, but I will show you in the student area how the text can be read out loud. As the teacher, you have permission to turn off the audio feature for the children, and I'll demonstrate that in just a bit. So again, I apologize, I'm not reading the text, I'm just randomly selecting, so I'm just modeling. By advancing over here in this bottom arrow, you could move forward or back for any question. The computer will alert you from time to time whether or not you have completed a task that was required, and then you can respond to that question however you choose. The hand that I just clicked on will demonstrate a pop-up question when it's actually the child. Are you sure you want to submit the question? So here I am back at that teacher landing page, which gives me an opportunity to choose. So by clicking on the assessment, you are granted a student preview. You're also granted a preview option by clicking on the gear down here. And then lastly, to actually officially assign it, it says right here to add to assignment. You could actually, over in this assignment area, have like 5 or 6 or 7 different assignments all clustered in together all at the same time. And that's why the language specifically says add to assignment, because it could be multiple assignments that you want added into the menu on the right-hand side over here. So I'm in assignments. You actually have to name it, even though the assignment comes with a name. If you want to bulk or cluster 5 assignments together for a particular reason, you could thematically name it maybe government, for example. If you don't like the title government and you just want to call it unit assessment, then you can do that. This is Unit 2 Week 1 assessment, so if you just want to call it Unit 2 Week 1 assessment, that's sufficient. Name it as you choose. And then earlier I mentioned that audio capability. This is where you would turn on or turn off the audio functionality. The default setting is that it comes with the audio feature. If you have specific instructions, please do item 1 first, please do such and such a second, read the instructions carefully, whatever you wish, type those in as you see fit. I'm going to click specifically on how I want to locate students. I am a teaching coach, so I don't have an array of students or multiple classes. I have one class, I have one student, and it's me. This particular student is illuminated. For you, the classroom teacher, the fastest way for you to select all students would be simply coming here to select all. And because you'll have 26, 27, 36 students, you're going to have to scroll down to a lower region of this window in order to locate where it says select all. All of your students will populate in this lower area right here. If you want almost all of your students selected, then you could click on select all, and then by clicking the little X over here, you could individually remove a couple students if that's something that you want to do. I'm going to click on done. I'm going to choose a start date. So I will choose Tuesday. Sorry, that's Monday the 2nd. So Monday the 2nd would be my start date, and then I'm going to give some wiggle room for absent students or any of my students who need a little bit more time to finish the assessment. I'm going to make it a 14-day window or 10 academic days in total, and I'm going to click Save. Can the children finish assessments at home? That's a question that comes to my mind. It might come to yours as well. I don't have an answer to that question. I'm so sorry. Personally, when I'm reflecting back on classroom teaching, I would probably say that I would not want an assessment of any kind to be finished at home. I would recommend that it would just be something that's available in the classroom because I wouldn't want an older sibling or a parent to help with it. So it could potentially be done at home, but I would just avoid letting the children know that. That's kind of how I would do things. So if you didn't notice what I was doing earlier because I wasn't highlighting specifically what I was doing, I was previously on Benchmark Advance. I put that assignment in, and by clicking on Assignments, it's taking me back to this window. So I previously had posted this assignment just for the purpose of navigating the software and figuring out how it worked. And then this is the assignment that you watched me add to my classroom just now. And adding new assignments is easy. You can also do it from this space as well. So I'm going to sign out, and then I'm going to sign back in as a student. That way you can see exactly what it looks like for the student to navigate through this, because the student area is slightly different from the teacher area. So let me sign in. You'll notice how there's a number 2 in the My Assignments area. And back when we were on that teacher page, you were able to see how those 2 assignments were available as well. So I'm going to click here on My Assignments. Assignment 2 is not available on display right now because it's 2 days from now. So here I am Saturday, sitting on the couch at home, building this tutorial for you. But this previous assignment that I had mentioned is here. So the calendar is clearly important. You would want to make sure that you're putting in a date where the children would have access to it on a specific date. In this area right here, when I was fielding a lesson, this is where the students had difficulties logging in. If you're in the tech lab or you're in the classroom, you're anywhere on campus, and you want your students to sign in, if the children are clicking on this open book where they're opening the assignment and they click, 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 and they notify you, teacher, I can't get in, then all the way up here, you might have a small image with a teeny tiny X on it, indicating that your pop-up blocker is preventing the assessment from starting. I was able to send out an email to my area letting them know what it looks like for them to then click on this little item up here. You're going to have a drop-down menu show up letting you know exactly what pop-ups have been prevented. And then in that little menu, you have the option of always allow pop-ups from this website. And you can click allow. And then in that same little teeny tiny menu, there's going to be the word done. And you would click done. At that point in time, your children would then have access to this particular test. But unfortunately, if those pop-up blockers are preventing that test from starting, then that would be the remedy. So I have a new tab that has opened on my web browser, and the test is loading. And my button says Continue Test because I've already had a chance to maneuver through this a little bit. I was teaching another teacher how to use this resource. Over here, it indicates that I'm an IT coach, and this is my identity. When your students are in, I believe their name should pop up here. So this is the name that I've been given as a coach. This little blinking symbol right here notifies me as the student, I'm taking on the role of a student, that I've got information down here. And so either that rolling wheel on the mouse will allow you to come down, or my recommendation is also 2 fingers together at the same time, sliding along the trackpad. Those are the 2 tools that I find are very successful. I apologize in advance that I'm not going to read the text and I'm not going to locate the correct answer. So if I'm clicking on the wrong answers over here, please don't cringe. This right here represents the audio features. I mentioned that previously in the video, and you have the power to choose whether or not this appears. And when I was looking at the sample in the teacher's edition, the audio feature did not appear. But for here, this particular test lets me listen to it.
Listen to this passage about a group that feeds the hungry. Then I will ask you some questions. Meals on wheels. Some people do not have food to eat. They go to bed.
So the tools that I mentioned earlier are still available here, and the computer software is kind enough to let you know exactly what's happening. I still don't know what the line reader tool is, so I apologize. I wish I had an answer for that. If whatever child is testing, I'll just refer to myself as student 13. If student 13 needs to leave the classroom to use the restroom, or if it's time for lunch, or it's time for recess, and the child needs to pause the test, this is kind of self-explanatory. I mean, you just click on it and pause the test. Do you want to save and finish later? Your options are yes, I want to save and finish later. Your other option, if you click no, you would just return to the test. So here are the drag and readjust tools by clicking in just the right spot and then sliding over. Previously it worked. So when I was working on that poem earlier, those stanzas were not expanding in size. So if the child doesn't want to have to scoot up and scoot down, you'll notice how I've been able to drag it to such a point where I can see the entire text right here all at one time. And then if it's helpful for the child to turn around and then drag that back. For some reason I'm not very successful at doing this right now, I'm sorry. There we go, I finally got it. Test questions, there are 26 questions in all. Another great tool about using this resource up here is that you can quickly at a glance determine which questions you've answered and which ones you haven't. Here I am on question 1, I'm going to randomly check an answer. I'm going to scoot over to question number 2. It's still the same text over here, but it's just a new question about that same text. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like in this upper area. So by clicking on here, you'll notice how I have 3 A's right here. So I've answered these, and then each of these down here, it's pending, and those questions haven't been answered yet. So it is helpful to kind of see how far you are into the test. The other helpful part about this piece up here is that when the child returns from recess or using the restroom or whatever break that was, they can slide through here to figure out which ones have not been completed yet, and then double click in order to find that. So here are some grammar and syntax questions. If this little copy button shows up and it's preventing the child from seeing what's going on, feel free to caution the child to just click into this open space right here, and then that copy feature will disappear. Playing and pausing are also available for the questions.
21. The blank is black. A. Cat. B. C. C. U.
In one of my classes, there is a student who is visually impaired and is completely blind. The audio feature would be a great tool for this child, especially for comprehension texts. This right here is the Submit Test button. Earlier when we were in the Teacher's Edition, you weren't able to see what the response looks like when you click on this. So I'll show you what it looks like now. It alerts the child that there are still unanswered questions on this test. Are you sure you want to submit your test now? I recommend that you as the teacher caution the children, depending on their age. If they're first, second, and third graders, you're more than welcome to say, no one in my class has permission to click this button. If you want to be the person in charge of clicking that button, then just go ahead and let your students know that. And then you can come back in to verify that every question has been answered. And then you can be the one in charge of clicking that hand, indicating that it is now officially time for the test to be submitted. So you can author whatever policies you want regarding that particular submit button. Well, that is the end of my tutorial. I'm hoping that I answered a number of your questions, and I hope your testing sessions are absolutely fantastic. If you have any questions for me associated with Benchmark Universe, go ahead and email those questions to me, and I will answer those questions, or I will try to design a tutorial, a video tutorial just like this one. Have a great day.